everybody! How are you doing this evening? Well, close to evening, because it's almost 4 o'clock. So, as I'm sure you already know, the purpose of this video is to go over a basic rundown of the two primary topics of discussion for this YouTube channel, which I had gloriously neglected and abandoned over the last 2 or 3 years. Well, it's time for a channel resurrection! And now that the channel is resurrected, let's just dig into this. The first topic of main interest for me, and for this channel, is music production and music production related philosophy. Now, for a long time now, I've actually been really interested in making videos like this because of little tips and tricks that I've learned along the way on my own journey with music production. And these are tips and tricks that I feel other people could benefit from as well.
And believe me, I'm still learning too.
I just want to help in removing the stigma that music production is some sort of mystical, magical, if you don't go to school and get a degree for it, then you can't ever amount to anything with it sort of practices. Now, a lot of people, they start out in a DAW, or a digital audio workstation for those who don't know, and they hear something and it sounds great at first that they've just made, and then they listen to these other bigger producers or bands, and then they get discouraged, sometimes so discouraged in fact that they just end up trying to quit altogether.
It's impossible, man. I worked for a month on this track, and I even thought the levels were decent and everything, but now my mix is just, it sounds so thin and hollow and harsh and brittle. It almost sounds like a mess of so many different frequencies clashing together. I listened to this Mr. Bill or Infected Mushroom track though, and they just sound so beefy and wide, and everything seems so clear when they do it.
What am I doing wrong?
Well, Waldo, you are in the process of finding yourself, my good lad. You see, we don't necessarily even realize when we're doing something wrong because we haven't listened critically enough yet to even know when we could be making a difference to ultimately make something sound better to our ears. A lot of this critical listening skill actually develops over time, just from listening to enough music with good mixes in them, which a lot of us have already been doing for a majority of our lives without even thinking about it. You know, I actually plan to elaborate on this in future videos. Now, the type of video content just in this music production category alone will range from working in the DAW, having like in the DAW right in front of you production tutorials, to doing live streams where I work on tracks via live streams, to even just talking about good music production habits, such as adequate sleep and maybe even knowing when a track's arrangement is too cluttered in a project. Now, of course, I'm still going to be covering mixing VST plugin tools such as equalizers, compressors, reverbs, delays, saturation and distortion, and so on. However, I'll also be going into why you would want to use these tools and how having a context and a purpose in mind when using these tools is very important, because sometimes these tools can actually make a mix worse, and we won't even realize it. So that just about covers the first topic of main interest for this channel, which was music production and just music production related material. Now, the second topic of primary interest falls into the category of self-care and self-care philosophy. I'm actually going to have an entire section just devoted towards telling my life story up to now, from the time that I can remember as far back as my memories go. And I'm basically going to be giving a testimony as an open book, have my life out there for everyone to see, in hopes that many of you who may be going down a similar path right now can kind of see what I struggled with as well, and what I was dealing with from the time I was a teenager to my early 20s. Which, it's interesting because I'm halfway to 23 years old now, and I guess this is still technically my early 20s, but nevertheless. A little bit of a background on Jimmy, me, from about 14 years old to present day. I changed religious views about 10 different times, everything from Christian to Buddhist to agnostic and deist to even atheist. And about just as much politically, from being Republican to Democrat, Libertarian, and even anarchist. I was homeschooled until the 10th grade, and I had no idea what the outside world even actually looked like whatsoever. I used to abuse drugs, ranging from alcohol to stimulants to depressants to opiates and psychedelics, really just anything. I didn't speak to my mother for over a year and a half of my life, and I didn't speak to my father for about 2 or 3 years of my life. Every time my life would appear to be a traumatic disaster, I would always turn to sex and drugs to basically cope and block everything out. I actually messed up a couple of different relationships with girls that I was dating, just because I would take out all of my personal childhood baggage and garbage that I had bottled up over the years, and I would take it out on everyone. Not just them, but family and friends. I'd take it out on everybody. I even began cursing when I was 16 years old and had just started public school, and I did it as a means for attention from people that I thought should know that I was actually really going through pain. I was trying to hold together this happy face that I was making it and I was surviving after a divorce that happened in the family between my parents. And at the time, I used that. I used that as leverage. I used these words that I knew people didn't like as a way to get attention from them. But it's interesting because it was really out of character for me. I'll expand on more of this in future videos on how all of these events actually fall into my timeline, but all I can really say is it amazes me constantly that God could use and recreate someone just as messed up as I am. So yeah, that's basically it actually. This channel is just split up between music production and music production related material, live streams, tutorials. I'm even going to put some of my own music on this channel as well, because for the longest time it's only been on my SoundCloud account. Now I can actually put it on this channel as well, and it'll be awesome. I'm so happy about that. Yeah, it's split up between that and self-care philosophy videos, where I'm going to be going a lot deeper into my testimony and into the life of Jimmy, the life and past of Jimmy. So yes, I look forward to sharing all of this with you guys. It's been a wild ride, it still is, and I'm still being made new every day. Be blessed.